Rock stars, welcome. Today I am going to share an incredible event that I attended recently. It was authentic storytelling ran by the Carlton Football Club and powered by La Trobe University. I attended it this week on Thursday. It was epic and we had some really great guest speakers. I wanted to jump on and share my insights from this, and I'm really keen to do so because I'm still buzzing from it. If you are watching I am streaming this from multiple different platforms. So depending on what the platform you are watching from, drop your comments. I probably can't get to all of your comments because I'm just going to move this across here because I am multi-streaming here. So just to let you know a little bit about me and where I'm streaming to. So I am streaming to LinkedIn, my Facebook profile, my Facebook business page, LinkedIn and TikTok as well. So do drop your questions, but I most likely will have to get back to them afterwards. So the event that I attended, as I said, and then I'll let you know a little bit more about me if you are new here. And I'm hiding down one end of the house because the kids are really noisy up there. Authentic storytelling from Carlton Football Club and powered by La Trobe University. Absolutely epic. So it was all about branding and storytelling. And I attended this event. It was a corporate event, and I wanted to share the insights with you for your own brand, whether it's you as an individual or as a business. So if you're marketing yourself online, you don't have to be a business. This can be just about whether you're marketing yourself as a brand, because that still is a brand yourself, and you can still monetize that and make money from yourself as a brand. So for those who are new here, my name's Melissa Mitchell. I'm in Victoria, Australia. And I own a marketing agency. I specialize in organic marketing. I help business owners get seen organically. So if that's a term that's new to you, organic marketing is marketing with non-paid strategies. So we don't use Google ads. We don't we can run paid Meta, which is Facebook and Instagram advertising for you, or we could do LinkedIn ads for you as well. But we work from organic, which is free SEO and social media strategies, which is really cool. And branding and authentic storytelling plays a huge role when you're talking about marketing yourself. Now, whether you're marketing yourself as an individual or as a company or brand, it's the same thing in what you need to do. So I wanted to share these what I learned and what I also do in my own business, and how it's helped me to thank you for the loves and shares and everything there as well, by the way. Because I know that not everyone can get to these events. They are very pricey, but there's so much gold in there, and I'll always get on and share when I attend these types of events and give you, the tips and everything that I learn as well. So, as well as, and I'm telling you this just so that you know, if you are branding yourself, you can, yes, stories do sell, Mike. So thank you. Mike's dropped a comment there on Facebook. Stories absolutely do sell. They do. And particularly on social media. So what I'm about to tell you, I'm telling you because as a byproduct of what I've done, I've become a brand myself as well as my business. So if you are someone who is building a business online, what I'm going to tell you is sometimes what happens, hey, Lorenzo, how are you? My beautiful friend. I've got to try and catch you this weekend as well. Sometimes what happens as well, and I think this is a really smart thing, even if this happened kind of as a byproduct, but I always recommend when you are building a brand to have a personal element to it. some people say not to do that because then it does become a little bit harder. If you want to sell your business later, then you are the face behind it. But in the early days, I do absolutely recommend to put yourself behind the brand or a team. Hey, Carol. Carol is in Chicago. Thank you for joining. To put yourself or your team or at least a personal element behind the brand. It is the quickest way that you can grow. And particularly if you're doing lead generation, people want to connect with people. So when they want to talk to you about your business, or even if you are selling a product-based business, you're not even a service-based business. If you're selling products, whether it's candles or whether it's prints or whatever it is, they still want to connect with someone. So the tips that I'll share with you are really pertinent to that, whether you're a big organization, you're one person, it doesn't matter. People need to connect with people. What's that message there as well? Good to hear. I'm glad you're okay, Lorenzo. We'll definitely chat, my friend. People do need to connect with people. So as a byproduct of just turn that down there a little bit, of what I've been doing. So with my organic marketing, I obviously use those strategies to promote my own business, which is the agency, which is Abundant Life Studio. We market businesses. We run their social media, etc. Now, to lead generate myself, because I don't use paid advertising. I mean, I can. Thank you for the stars there. That's amazing. I appreciate that. That's on TikTok, guys. If you're watching for another platform, I'm streaming this live on TikTok and Facebook and LinkedIn and YouTube. Would you like to say hello to each other? There you go. Wave to each other. I'm multi-streaming here. And on TikTok, you can send stars and those sorts of things. It's really nice. People send. That means it's a really nice gesture because they've paid for that. So that's a really beautiful thing, and it's so appreciated. I don't expect it by any means, and it's really nice when people do that. But through my own marketing, as a byproduct, I became a brand, and then that monetized. So there's a lot of power in having your own brand. Now, what then happens is you can really, really utilize that to build your oops, sorry, you're on the screen there, Lorenzo, your message. You can really then utilize that and monetize that as well as a second or third or fourth stream of income as well. But you've got to get it right. Branding and storytelling, etc., has to be done authentically. Otherwise, you will lose trust from your audience. So I'll go through and read out some of the things that I learned from this workshop, which I went down to this week. And ways that you can monetize it as well. And obviously the workshop wasn't about monetizing, but all these things come together. And your business starts getting better leads and more leads come through. Sorry, Lorenzo. I had Lorenzo's question up on the screen and he's thinking, why am I up there? Crazy. So there's a feature on the software that I'm using. If you ask a question, I can put it up on the screen, and I don't know how I got you up there, but Lorenzo, you were the shining star for the moment. I love it. Then, of course, branding yourself then helps you to connect with more people, and it builds your business as well. So lead generation really then organically and authentically happens, and you're not having to chase people, and you're not having to slide into DMs or do these crazy things, or really work for it. It's a little bit like attraction marketing. The leads start coming to you. So from the event, that if you've just joined, because we are doing this live, this is from the Carlton Football Club. Carlton Corporate run these events, authentic storytelling and branding, powered by La Trobe University. It was bloody amazing. Definitely go again. So we had some really great speakers. The MC for the day and the host for the day was Professor Russell Hoy, and he was from La Trobe University. If you're not in Australia, because we've got Carol, Lorenzo and Mike on that aren't from Australia, we've got the US and South Africa there. And of course, the TikTok, people who are following on TikTok, you would be from all over as well. He's from Australia. And then I haven't got a photo here actually. The people that were speaking at the event are Andy Lee from Hamish and Andy. So if you're in Australia, you would know that Andy Lee's really big here from from Hamish and Andy. We also had Dylan Alcott. If you know Dylan Alcott, he's an amazing advocate for his community. So for those overseas, Dylan Alcott is in a wheelchair. So he was born, I actually didn't know this. He was born why he was in a wheelchair. He was born with a tumor around his spine, and he's gone on to inspire so many people in his community. He now is a big advocate for them. He's a tennis champion and so much more for that community. And he's really working hard to integrate people with a disability into, and I'm going to bring up a really good point that he said about marketing and people with a disability. So he's a really big, he's really big in Australia as well. And I think both Andy Lee and Dylan Alcott do quite a bit overseas as well. So I think in the US. So you may have seen him over there as well. And then not last, because she was actually on first, the beautiful Nat Edwards. She is a host, a sports journalist, and a sports presenter on TV. I loved her. She was so incredible. So here in Australia, she presents, she's sports mad, and she presents a lot of our Australian rules football. So that's, big here in Australia, but not having played the sport herself at a professional level. In Australia, it was predominantly a men's sport. It's only been in recent years that it's become, we now have AFLW, which is, they commercialised it. It really wasn't a thing before. So it was actually a really big deal to have a woman on and being presenter. So she's been a presenter for quite some time now, but for someone to get up and push through a male-dominated industry and really become her own and make it, I just take my hat off to her. And all the while, she had a baby during that time, and she was incredible. Not just because she's a woman, but I really resonated with her just on so many different levels with what she was saying. So I'll give you some of the key takeaways from that as well. So something that Nat said, so I'll start with Nat and then I'll go through each speaker and just give you some gold nugget moments. All of it was simply incredible. And we did hear from one more person, which I didn't know we were going to hear from him until the day. And I don't know how to pronounce his surname. He's actually the general manager of Carlton, the general manager of marketing, communications, and digital for Carlton. So he actually runs the branding and marketing communications for the Carlton Football Club. Gavin, I don't know how to say his surname, Juknevicius. He was amazing. I didn't know we were actually going to hear from him. I loved it, getting his take on it and seeing from a perspective, especially being an agency owner, to hear from someone who has got, so much, on his plate to protect the brand and the integrity of a brand like, a national football club. So that was an absolute bonus. So I'll give you some insight for what he said as well. Okay, so Nat Edwards. So she is a brand herself. So she's she's not a company. She's a brand, like an individual brand. And my key takeaway from her, there's so many I could say, but my key takeaway was to understand as a brand, as a person, what your values are and replicate that always online. And I couldn't agree more. So she had her core values, which was always wanting to grow and move forward. So never going backwards, always moving forward. So if something bad happened online, or she wasn't mentally feeling right, or she got some trolling or something, which you can imagine as she's a public figure and she's famous and she's online, always wanting to move forward. How can that experience strengthen her and not to give up? So always moving forward. Never sideways, never backwards. You're always moving forward. That was one of her core values. Connect with people and to tell stories, to tell authentic stories. because one of the things that I think people forget online is that social media is a storytelling place, okay? And people forget that. You've really got to look at social media as, if you were to turn on your TV, what would you want to see? You want to see entertainment, stories, connection. But people forget that with social media. People really forget that. They want to sell their product and make revenue and do all this. Yes, we need to sell. We need to pay our bills. I get that. But the way to generate an income is not by sell. The way to generate an income online and to make money is by telling a story, being authentic, branding yourself correctly, and sticking to your core values. Then the trust comes, then the money comes. I can guarantee you. Okay, every time. And why? Because I guarantee you, not one of anyone who's watching today across the multiple platforms that I'm watching, or if you're watching the replay, I can guarantee you not one of you will ever pick up your social media because you're going shopping. Not one of you says, I need a new pair of shoes, I need to buy a new laptop, I'll just go to Facebook for that. Not one of you do. None of us do. But you will buy something if you connect with it. You will. So if you're scrolling and you see your favorite creator and she's recommending or he's recommending something, and you've been watching them for a while now and they've always stuck to their core values, you may not know that but subconsciously something about them you trust, then a conversion happens, a sales conversion happens because you trust them. You may not be able to articulate that and know why, but that's how it works. Hello, Habibi. Salam alaikum. Vanessa. Kif halik. How are you? Kif halik, Habibi. Thank you for joining, Vanessa. But that's how it works. So sticking to your core values is a big part of this, okay? So when you turn on TV, if you had sell, you wouldn't watch it. Social media is no different, okay? So that's exactly how you do it. So there were some of her core values. So you need to ask yourself, what are your core values as a brand? I know what mine are. And I until she sort of mentioned that, I'd never actually considered what my core values were. But then I thought, yeah, well, I do know what they are. I just never had sat down and thought about them. And I'll always stand by it. I'll always stand by it. And I won't be altered just for views or just for clickbait or just for money. Like I wouldn't. But, I'd actually never sat down and wrote them down. So I'm like, okay, I'm going to write them down. But you know in your heart what your core values are. And if something doesn't feel right, don't stick, don't go with that. So I thought that was really, really, really good from Nat Edwards, and you can check her out online. She's wonderful. Okay, so then next we had Dylan Alcott, and he was amazing to listen to. And obviously he comes from a community that, I'm touching wood here because he's everyone has their struggles, and he was born with a disability, and he's overcome. He was raw and vulnerable, and said what his challenges were. And thank you for the stars there, and how hard it was. And I appreciated that because you don't know what you don't know, and I appreciate that. So if you are in Australia, or even if you're not, check out what he does. He's a huge advocate. Now, one of the things that I thought was absolutely amazing, and you can check out the stats in your own country on this. So he said to us, obviously, if you're watching and you don't know what country I'm in Australia here. Obviously, I'm live streaming this to multiple different platforms. I'm here in Australia, and he said, how many people do you think have a disability in your country? So, I mean, Australia's, our population isn't as big as other countries. I don't know what we're up to. I think we're up to about 25 million people or something. So I'm thinking maybe, he said, what, 200,000, 100,000, 300,000 people have a disability. And it was, I think he said around 4 million. So if you look in your country and you look, have a look at the stats. And he said, that's 4 million people that are still consumers. But if you look at advertising, no one is featuring someone in a wheelchair as an actor or someone who's deaf as an actor. Now, in Australia, it has started to happen because of Dylan Alcott. So we're starting, and I don't know about in other countries, but we're starting to feature, there's a couple of ads now where, I think it's the football ad, where there's a girl playing footy and she's deaf and her teammates are signing to her. Back at you, Vanessa, back at you. Alhamdulillah. I think I said that right, did I? Thank you for the likes there, user 196. I appreciate that. Now, if you think about it, it's one of those things. They're still consumers. Now, you need to connect with your audience in marketing, okay? People like to see themselves in your branding and marketing and when you're storytelling, yeah? You're not going to be able to connect with everyone, okay? So if you market to everyone, you market to no one. However, your audience, if you have a product or brand, so, okay, if you take my niche, I'm looking for business owners. In my niche, people with disabilities are business owners. So by having perhaps someone, if I was to run a marketing campaign to sell my services to business owners, he asked to consider using someone in a wheelchair or perhaps someone who was deaf in the marketing campaign. And it made sense because what he said was the only time he ever saw, and I'd never considered this, the only time he ever saw someone in a wheelchair that was like him was in an ad. And he wasn't saying the ad was bad because it was needed. Was it in an ad for a car crash? And the message was, and he said, look, we need those ads. We need to deter people from drink driving. But basically the ad was saying, if you do something bad, you're going to end up like him, which is the second last thing before death. And I thought about that and I thought, here's this guy who did nothing wrong, who was born, and that's when he said, I was born with a tumor around my spine and that's why he's in a wheelchair. Here's this guy who, through no fault of his own, was born with a tumor and is in a wheelchair for life. And the only time he saw a reflection of him in himself, because that's what advertising's about. It's about connecting with your audience through being authentic and seeing yourself in that ad or that story, etc. And he said the only time was when it was saying, you do something bad, you drink drive, this is your punishment. And they showed someone like him. That made me think. So I've got a couple of clients that I'm going to talk to about how can we look at this differently, because they are consumers. So he then went on to run a campaign on, and I now can see some of the big advertisers doing this, and it was through his efforts. And I applaud him for this. So he got some really big brands on board to say, hey, can you run an ad that features someone who's perhaps blind, who's in a wheelchair, perhaps who is autistic, perhaps, is deaf, where you need sign language. And we're starting to see these ads coming out, and that's all from him. So I loved that. And as a marketer, it's something I hadn't considered. Completely right. Love it. Absolutely loved that. Really loved it. And he also said there's power in being vulnerable. And I completely agree with that. Stories do sell. And particularly if you are watching on LinkedIn or you are on LinkedIn, I notice on LinkedIn, the content that performs really, really well on LinkedIn is vulnerable content. It performs it performs well on any platform, but particularly LinkedIn. So if you are on LinkedIn, consider that, because it does perform really well. And Dylan Alcott, Dylan, Dylan, and then Alcott, Alcott, does have a website. You can go check out what he does, because he's a huge advocate for the community, but he looks at it as what everyone is doing together. So it's a collaborative approach, and I really love what he's doing. So do go and support the cause if you can. Next, we had Andy Lee from Hamish and Andy. And these guys, I love how their brain works because I find it's really similar to how my brain works. Just give me 2 seconds, guys. Just missed my mouth there. Sorry. Lucky it's just water. I just missed my mouth there. Got my dog sunbaking in the background there on my bed. So I'm hiding down at this end of the house because it's so noisy down there. Okay. So Andy Lee and Hamish. Hamish wasn't there, but Hamish and Andy Lee built a brand. And what I love about these two guys. Now, if you are overseas, Hamish and Andy built a brand here in Australia. They're two young guys that didn't finish uni, found each other in uni, realized that they were funny, and decided to stick together and make a brand of it. And what they found earlier on is I think they did get signed to a TV channel and it got axed. And then they realized that they'd kind of signed their brand away. I don't know how else to explain it, and I'm trying to think of what they said. But once they got axed, they were like, okay, we've really got to protect our brand here. And I completely agree with that. So the next time they were like, no, we're going to do things on our terms. And I agree with that because I sort of found that I got to a point in my business too, and it's not a bad thing. This is not a bad thing, that I had to stop. It's not a bad thing. I'm just that people were trying to help and all that sort of thing. But I got to a level where people didn't understand where I was going in my own personal brand. They're like, why are you doing these videos? Why are you talking about this? What's all the photos for? What are these lead magnets? What's this? But I knew where I was heading, and I just like I've got to stop explaining to people where I'm heading because they don't understand it, which is not their fault. And I don't have time to understand. I don't have time to explain it. I've just got to get there. So protect your brand. If you know you're right, don't even doubt it, actually. Don't even, it's not about whether you're right or wrong. If it feels right, just protect it. And that's what these guys did. And that was my key takeaway from them. They basically said, perfect your brand and fail on your own terms. You don't want to fail on someone else's terms. There's someone else telling you what to do. Like, it's not about being arrogant. I'm not saying you shouldn't take advice from people, but listen to people. If you want to, I'm not saying be arrogant, but take the advice that sits right with you. If something doesn't sit right, don't take it. Okay, you'll know when the time's right. There was a point where I needed it and I was like, yeah, I don't know how to do this. And I'm not saying it's like, right, I don't need you now, because I know when I need to ask for help and I know when I know what I'm doing. And then people are like, I don't know what you're doing. Like even my family, which is, again, it's not a bad thing. My dad would say to me, I don't get what you're doing. I don't get it. I don't understand. Why are you getting on and doing these lives? Like, I don't get what you're doing. I'm like, you will get it. And now he's like, you're very clever. I see what you were doing. I see what you're doing. And I'm like, it's all come together and it's paid off and the money's coming in and I now get paid for this and I get paid for that. And this is separate to my business. Yeah. Like obviously my agency, it's a business. Like there's a certain way to build a business, but I'm talking about my own brand. Facebook pay me now. They pay me a substantial amount of money for having my personal profile. There's TikTok is now I'm starting to get money from TikTok and getting paid to create certain things. I get paid from 2 different YouTube channels. I now get paid from I've created a digital online store. I've got lead magnets. I've got funnels. I've got emails that I get that I've monetized. So it's all come together. But if I'd explained that to things in the beginning, I was trying to explain it to too many people. And this is what Hamish and Andy are saying. Just protect your brand. Just if it's too much, just don't explain it, because sometimes it's just, and that's okay. It's not that people don't believe in you, but just the online world or whatever you're building may just be such a crazy idea that it's just some people just don't get it. And that's not a bad thing. That's not their fault either. It's just that It's just that it's completely different world to anybody that what they're doing, and that's not their fault. So protect your brand at all costs. If you're going to fail, fail on your own terms. At least you know you tried. And it's not about being arrogant, but you know the type of information that you need to take in, and you know the type of information. No one knows your craft better than you. Period. That's it. I always say, drown out the noise. Just stay in your lane. If just keep going. You got a vision, just keep going. The other thing that they do is every year, and this is something I'm going to implement because I'm not doing this. Every year they compare their brand to the last year. Now, what I like about Hamish and Andy is Andy said they're not big analytic people, and I'm going to admit I'm not. I'm really bad with data, really bad. So much so that I've just had someone new start in my team that's going to help me with this. Because I'm really terrible at it. I don't like numbers. I don't like comparing things, but I know, look, there's a part of it that I need to. And they were saying the same. They're like, oh, we just do it. If it works, it works. And look, I'm the same, but obviously I need to get a bit better at that. But every year they sit down and they compare the brand and see what directions it's going into. Because you have to understand in your business, and this is, I've got a client at the moment that I'm working with on this, and I've said, you've got to grow with your brand as well. Because one particular client, this is a pretty big brand in Australia, I said to them, your audience is growing old and they're not into the content that you were producing before. So literally, you need to change the way you're marketing, because they always said, we don't want to go on TikTok. Our audience isn't on there. I said, well, your audience is getting bored, and actually your audience is on there because this particular brand, I said, what about all these people that are coming out of university and going into the jobs that you're now selling to? They are on TikTok. They're not growing with their brand. So you should be comparing to see. It's like saying, it's like basically Justin Bieber. It's like, like things grow and adapt and evolve. It's just the way that it happens. And you have to make those changes. It's what happens. So I really enjoyed that. He also talked about imposter syndrome. So that's where you just don't believe you're good enough. I still get that now. Andy Lee saying he still gets that. It's where you just don't believe, you're comparing yourself to each other. Look, I don't, and he said the same thing, and I agree with this. He's saying he doesn't believe it's a bad thing. It's only a bad thing, I think, if it stops you from going forward. If imposter syndrome stops you from going forward, then it's a bad thing. If it doesn't, maybe it helps you to keep on your toes. I don't know. I do sometimes think, oh my God, am I really like, I do. I'm like, oh, but I'm not there yet. But then you've always got to remember, like a year ago, you always wanted to be where you are today in your business. So a year ago, if you think about where you were, you wanted to be here, and you are here now. So that's another positive thing as well. So that's from the 3 keynote speakers. I'll just do a little rundown on the head of marketing from Carlton, and then I'll wrap it up for you. So I didn't know he was going to speak, so it was a really great bonus. Gavin, I can't say his surname, I'm sorry. And I didn't know he was going to speak on the day, otherwise I would have practiced his surname. So he is the General Manager of Marketing and Digital Communications for Carlton Football Club. Really enjoyed that. And was actually quite interesting because this is not something necessarily I do for my clients because I don't need to. But he was saying how they have to moderate every single comment. Because obviously then they need to make sure that nothing's getting out of hand in the comments, because it can affect their brand. There is one client that I work with, we do this, but obviously it's on a lesser scale. That brand isn't as big as Carlton. It is still a pretty big brand, but not as big as Carlton Football Club. So I found that interesting because that would be a really hard thing to manage. A lot of other brands that I work with and clients, it's not an issue. We don't need to moderate that. And generally, unless it's something dangerous or really, really, threatening someone, I would always say that light trolling, I'm not saying anything that's really damaging, hurtful, or dangerous or put someone in a really bad position. Trolling is actually a pretty good thing for your algorithm because platforms don't care whether it's a negative or positive comment. It says to the platform, hey, this person's content's really good because someone's commenting. So it's actually not a bad thing. However, when you're looking at a big brand and if there's, racial comments or threatening comments, or something about someone's performance, yeah. One of the brands I work with, we do post up some stuff that is Indigenous, and we've had some bad comments. So, we need to moderate that because, obviously we're not going to tolerate that. But generally with most of my clients, it might get, something that's pretty light, and then the rest of the consumers or the customers of that brand sort of step in and it's pretty light. And in that case, it's not a bad thing because no one's getting hurt. Like I'm not absolutely not encouraging it by any means, but there's a big difference in what they're doing to what, some other brands. Like for example, on my lives, I would get, particularly on TikTok, sorry, TikTok, but TikTok's probably the worst. You'll get just young people commenting on your appearance and that sort of thing. And for me, I can handle that. It doesn't worry me. And it actually pushes my algorithm out. I'm not encouraging that by any means, but it was really interesting to listen to Gavin on how they manage at that. But yeah, just talking about how they keep the camaraderie. They've got a really big difference on how they present their brand on, say, TikTok, on, as they would on a different platform. And as a marketing agency owner, that is something that is, on smaller brands, it's a little bit easier to manage with smaller brands. When you've got a really, really big brand at that's completely different. It is, well, I wouldn't. Yeah, obviously you're not going to put TikTok content from a brand like Carlton onto LinkedIn. When it's a smaller brand, you may be able to repurpose part of that content if you've got a small brand and put it on LinkedIn. I do for my own brand because it is marketing content. But yeah, you're going to then obviously, the bigger the brand is, you're going to probably then work differently. So I found that quite interesting as well. So they were my most valuable points from that marketing event. I really enjoyed going there, and hopefully you got some value from me sharing this with you. So if you missed the start of that was from the Carlton Football Club, the Authentic Storytelling event. It was hosted by Professor Russell Hoy from La Trobe University, and it was epic. And I'm definitely going to go again. It was my first corporate event with Carlton Football Club. I'm definitely going to go again. Absolutely loved it. I only just saw it about 5 days before. I didn't even know it was on. So, yeah, really loved it. And, I've got some really great information there. I'm self-taught. I've never had a marketing degree in my life, and I'm always open for learning. Whether someone's got a degree or not, I love to sit there and listen to them on how they work and run their business or see marketing. And I'm just so grateful that people are happy to share their time. And yeah, definitely be going back. So thank you, everyone. I'll go back and check comments because, as I said, I'm streaming this through StreamYard. Now, if you would like some help with your marketing, I have a ton of free resources. I've got a lot more that I'm going to be uploading this weekend. So there'll be a bio or link somewhere you can click that, but I'm going to be uploading a lot more. If you're on Facebook, I've got a free Facebook group you can jump into. But whatever platform you're watching on, thank you, Lorenzo, there'll be a link somewhere. Now, if you are watching on LinkedIn, it's a little bit different because I don't put those links everywhere, but you can message me and I can get you those resources as well. But if you do click on that, I've got a free bio optimization guide, and I can send you that via email. It'll help you to optimize your bio on LinkedIn, TikTok, Facebook profile, Facebook page, Pinterest, YouTube, Twitter, X, whatever you want to call it. I still can't call it X. I'm not used to it. I can't remember what else is. Oh, Instagram, etc. But yeah, do make sure you click into my bio, and you'll see that in there, and you can get that for free. I've got a ton more to upload for you. I've got a cheat sheet for filming your videos with viral hooks. I've got faceless content ideas coming, but make sure you do click on that. And of course, follow me on all my platforms. I'm uploading videos daily or content daily at the very least, that can help you in your business. If you are an established business and you would like done for you marketing, of course, there will be a link with an inquire now form. You can send me a request and I can do a proposal for you. Consulting as well. And in 2024, I can't wait. I'm going to be doing workshops for business owners, where I teach you how to do all your own marketing, and I give you all the templates and everything. Set your computer up like your laptop. So whether you use Google or whether you use Microsoft, I'll have people there. This will be a face-to-face one. Down the track, I will run it online, but initially it'll be face-to-face in Melbourne. Or I can do it privately for you. Obviously, it'll be much cheaper in a group setting. It'll be over a course of 2 days, and I'll set everything up in your laptop because I'll have people there to do that for you. I'll give you all the resources. I'll give you all your templates for a year's worth of marketing and tell you exactly how to do it, where to get your content from. You drag and drop your own pictures into the templates that I give you, tell you how to do your calendars, and then you don't need to pay someone monthly to do it. Going to be rock solid. So I can't wait to release that. So do check out my bio. And if you are selling online as well, you can check out Snipfeed in my bio. If you want an account with Snipfeed, it's like a little monetization in your link. You can sell directly from your link. If you want one of those as well, I can give you that free for 6 weeks, a Snipfeed Pro account, so you can try it for free for 6 weeks. There's a code in my bio, which is Melissa Mitchell as one word. All you need to do is put that in. You'll get that free for 6 weeks. And then if you don't like it after that, it doesn't cost you anything. So check out that as well, and try it and see what you think. All right, guys, don't forget to follow, share, subscribe, whatever platform you're on. And we'll see you next time. Thanks for stopping by. See you guys. Bye. Okay.